We're changing our brain and body to live in that future present reality so that you feel connected to a future instead of the past. And when you're connected to the past, you're looking for it. And if you're looking for it, you're separate from it. If you're being it, then there's a complete change in energy. And nobody changes until they change their energy. And when you change your energy, you change your life. After 8,500 brain scans, I can tell you that you and I are at our absolute best when we get beyond ourselves. That is the elegant moment where we're free enough to create without any encumbrances.
So this has been measured too. So there's these different energy centers in the body. Is it true that if you're holding on to these other emotions, I just want a basic answer for this for the group too. If you're holding on to these negative emotions and you're not moving towards this more empowering emotion, what happens to these energy centers in the body? Can you describe that to some extent?
The majority of our thoughts and feelings are connected to our sexuality, to our victimization, our guilt, our suffering, our shame, our unworthiness, our self-doubt, or our importance, our control, our fear, our anger, our frustration, our hatred, our judgment. Those are the first three hormonal centers in the body. And those first three centers have everything to do with survival. And those centers are energy consumers. Orgasm, digestion, stress is a lot of energy that we're drawing from our very vital life force, our resource of light and information, and we're turning it into chemistry. And we're literally robbing the body's energy, right? So then living like that for the short term is okay because the body can move back to homeostasis, it can restore itself. But when we're overdoing that consistently, then there's no energy for growth and repair because you're living constantly in survival. So again, you can eat all the right food, you can do all the right things, but if you're living in anxiety and fear and you're viewing your world from the worst case scenario that could possibly happen, because that's what you do in survival, there's no energy for growth and repair. There's no energy for healing. So the majority of our thoughts are signaling certain circuits in the brain that signal another part of the brain, the limbic brain, to make what's called a neuropeptide. Neuropeptides are chemical messengers that signal hormonal centers. So now you're taking thought and you're storing it as energy in these energy centers. And if you're living in survival, why would you open your heart? I mean, it's just not a time to open your heart. I mean, if you're getting chased by T-Rex, it's not a time to meditate. It's not a time to learn. It's not a time to connect. It's not a time to communicate. It's not a time to sit down and go within. It's not a time to be vulnerable. It's time to run, fight, or hide. And so,
is that why we're this way? I've never asked you this before. Is this some? I don't think you believe this, but I just want to understand. Is this some sort of genetic disposition that's been passed down to us since we've been chased by T-Rex?
I think so. I think survival has been very adaptive.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're being chased by T-Rex, you don't run up to T-Rex and say, "Oh, cute little dinosaur, let me pet you." That's not adaptive. The fear is adaptive. You run from the unknown. You run from challenges, right? So if you're living in survival, there's better chances of surviving if you run from the unknown. And by the way, when you're living in survival at the infinite potentials in the quantum field, you'll select the worst case scenario in your mind. And you'll begin to emotionally prepare yourself for the worst case scenario because you have better chances of surviving.
There you go.
If you prepare for the worst, right?
There you
so
go.
People spend their whole life thinking about the worst thing and emotionally embracing it. While you take a thought and emotion, or an image and an emotion, you're branding or conditioning your body into what? Anxiety, into fear. So then you keep doing that over and over again, the body becomes the mind of fear. And whether you think you can control it or not, you're gonna have a panic attack. And the panic attack is the body saying, you've conditioned me this way. Try as you may with your conscious mind to control it. You programmed it subconsciously. Then you start worrying about the next panic attack, and it's that very anticipation that keeps the person on the hamster wheel,
and robs them of all of this energy as well.
They're absolutely, so they don't believe in possibility when they're living in that state, because in survival, it's not a time to create. All the blood flow is going to the hindbrain and away from the forebrain. There's no physiology really for a person to begin to create a new future. So think about it. So then 70% of the time, people in the world are living anticipating the next moment based on their past moment. And so they're laying reality down moment by moment with the next known, the next predictable moment. And so the hormones of stress endorse the senses. Our senses become heightened when we're under stress, and we become materialists. We narrow our focus on the danger.
Yes.
So then you're focusing on matter, you're focusing on the material world, and when you do that, you put all your attention, the arousal of the stress hormones puts all your attention on your body. If you're being chased by T-Rex, you better be paying attention to your body. When people start reaching this moment, my goodness, they're overcoming themselves, and now they're at that perfect place to create. And my definition of creation is when I forget about myself. Wow. That's when you're free. So some people can do it because they've practiced it. Other people can't get beyond the addiction of a certain emotion. That means their body is still their mind.
Yes.
So then if you're sitting in a meditation and your body's throwing the kitchen sink at you and saying, Ed, you're a loser, you're never gonna change, this is too hard, why don't you quit? And you're aware that that's your body doing that, and you say to your body, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna sit in this fire, and I'm gonna keep applying the formula, and your brain starts running to all the emails you have to do, and you become aware of that, and you return back to the present moment, and you tell the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. Now your will is getting greater than that program, and there's a liberation of energy, and every time you do that, that's a victory. And you teach people.
Every time you do that, that's a victory.
That's
when
a
your
victory.
Mind tells the body, I'm in charge.
When you say to your, when you want to get up and you want to quit, and you go, oh, no, that's my body, bring it back.
Okay.
And now you're taming the animal. The body is the animal, and you're like a dog, you sit. And if you keep doing this, you're climbing on top, and the body finally acquiesces. It finally says, I'm not going anywhere. And then boom, there's this liberation of energy. What's the side effect? Joy. Person's heart just automatically opens up, and every time they do that, those victories add up. There's no such thing as a bad meditation. There's only overcoming yourself. And when you sit in the fire and you work with that, people say to me, why do you meditate every morning? I say, because if I can overcome myself in the morning, the rest of my day is easy. It's easy.
Not true?
Because that's what it's about. You master yourself, you master your life.
Yes.
And so then all the chatter in your head that you listen to all day long, that is called the default mode network in the brain. Our research shows that shuts off. Not just shuts off during the meditation, it stays shut off for the rest of the day. So the critic in your head that's telling you this will never happen, you don't have enough time, there's no voice there. So you just have a clear flow on where you're going, and you trust yourself more.
Yes.
So then when you start practicing creating that brain and heart coherence, you can believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that it's actually, there's physical evidence in your brain to look like it's already happened.
Man.
And you can begin to understand, you can select a new potential in the quantum field, and every day emotionally embrace that future reality to such a degree that your body begins to believe it's living in that future reality in the present moment, and you're signaling new genes and new ways to change your body to look like it's already happened. Now think about this. If there's physical evidence by thought alone in your brain and body to look like your wealth or your future has already happened, it's already happened.
It's already happened.
And you're already it. So it's not about your wealth. It's not about your health. It's not about your freedom. It's who you become. So then as you overcome, you become someone else. And so most people don't understand that that the truth is that every time you overcome yourself a little bit more, the side effect is that you love yourself a little bit more. And so now, self-love is no longer about pleasure or having a car. It's something that you're cultivating within you. So then imagine, we have research to show, and this is such a duality, that when you start seeing the brain start synchronizing, getting coherent. The front of the brain and the back of the brain, the two hemispheres coming together, and we can say to scientists that come and study our work, oh, watch this, Ed's gonna pop. What do you mean? Just watch, this is gonna be good. And all of a sudden you see this brain going into this kind of psychic union, the heart blows wide open, you see coherence going on, and you'll look around at that person, and there's tears running down their face. Imagine feeling so whole that it's impossible to want. I mean, how can you want when you're whole? Because you feel like you already have it. Now, when you reach that point, that's when the magic happens, because now you are worthy to receive. And the universe only gives us what we think we're worthy of receiving.
Share this with them, please.
Yeah, I think, for me, I mean, I'm curious and I'm a pragmatist. I mean, if you tell me something, all I want to know is how I'm going to use it in my life. And,
yes.
And I'm not into dinner conversation because nobody changes from that. You know, I mean, I'm a doer and I want to be around doers. And
this is why you and I connect so well, I think.
And yeah, obviously. And you get a group of people that are passionate about transformation, and they've done some of the work. When we were doing our 4.5 day advanced workshops, right around the end of the event, I was seeing people starting to seeing some really great transformations, and I thought,
this is the pop.
Yeah, it's a pop. I mean, big pops, and we were like, we had to send them home, and I was like, oh God, man, if I could just have them for a week. So we created these week-long events where people retreat from their lives, and they remove the constant stimulation in their external environment that reminds them of who they think they are as a personality. They separate themselves from the people they know and the places they go and the things that they do at a certain amount of time in their routine, mundane life. So we'll bridge a little quantum physics with a little neuroscience, a little endocrinology, a little epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology. Those are all sciences about possibility. And I now know that if you can give people sound scientific information, you know, for me, that's the language.
I know.
And then if they can turn to the person next to them and explain it, you're not going to get off the hook. If you can't explain it, it's not wired in your brain. But if you can build a model and explain it, you're installing the neurological hardware in your brain in preparation for the experience. So the more you understand what you're doing and why, the how gets easier because you can assign meaning to it. So then if I can set up the conditions and the environment and give them the proper instructions and push the envelope a little bit, and people who get their behaviors to match their intentions and their actions equal to their thoughts, they get their mind and body working together, they're going to have a new experience. And the experience then is not only going to enrich the philosophical circuits in their brain, because experience does that, but it's going to produce an emotion. So they're going to start feeling more unlimited. They're going to start feeling more free. Now they're teaching their body chemically to understand what their mind is intellectually understood. So if you've done it once, you should be able to do it again.
You have the recipe, you have the formula.
So if you can repeat it, you will neurochemically condition your mind and body to begin to work as one. In other words, the body will start to learn how to do it as well as the mind, and you won't have to consciously think about it any longer. So it gets easier, right? So we follow that format, and the first couple days is that getting beyond your life, getting beyond your emotions. Everybody's got to do it, but if you just keep applying the formula, keep going, and I keep reminding you and keep building the model, I give them numerous opportunities to connect and numerous opportunities to overcome themselves. Sooner or later, you're just going to figure it out. It doesn't matter, you're just going to figure it out. And when you do, then we start seeing now these incredible transformations and changes. And it's like a 4-minute mile. Because I really think now, Ed, that evidence is the loudest voice. It is the loudest voice. And so we've got all the brain scans, we've got all the heart rate measurements, we got great measurements on immune regulation, how you can strengthen your immune system by thought alone. We have great measurements on that you could actually change your genes in 4 days, lengthen your telomeres, lengthen your life within 60 days, you know, change your neurotransmitters, change the energy around your body, the energy centers of your body, and change all this stuff. And so that's the scientific evidence, but the evidence of people now is really the laboratory. So then what's the side effect of a person then who begins to make significant changes in just mastering that formula? Well, the side effect is a remission from a health condition. So we have seen not once, not twice, more than twice, blind people. Like that one lady had a stroke on the optic nerve, a nurse from London, very smart lady, and the lesion was on the optic nerve, and it created a blind spot in her visual field from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So she can't see anything there, and so she lost her license. She has her own company. She couldn't read emails, and sooner or later your brain accommodates a little bit, but not fully. And so the typical prognosis with a stroke when there's neurological damage is that if your brain doesn't recover within 2 weeks, it's going to stay the same and slowly get worse. So she has great relationships with all the physicians, and they all said, yeah, you're going to have to learn to live with it. And believe it or not, one doctor said, hey, why don't you try going to this event? And this nurse Nurses are practical people. I mean, they are super practical people. And you want to get a good doctor, ask a nurse, right?
Sure.
And they're just very, very practical. So she did the online course, she did both the courses, she read all the books, she did all the meditations, and she came to the event with the intention of learning how to live with her condition. It didn't occur to her fully that she could heal it. And she went because she wanted to start a nonprofit to help people.
Wow.
So she went with a doctor that recommended the work, and just a certain point in the middle of the event, she was doing a walking meditation on the beach with 1,000 other people there, and it occurred to her that maybe she should think about healing her eyes. So she went into the meditation the same day. And she laid down after we finished the meditation, and she said it was like someone taking cellophane, crackling it in her head. She felt something going on inside her brain, and she was crying because she knew something spectacular was happening. And she didn't want to open her eyes, and then the meditation ended, and she said, when I opened my eyes, it was like I was seeing so much brighter. Wow. And she said, I could see no blind spot, and the doctor was laying right next to her, and she was sobbing, they were hugging each other.
Gosh.
And so she went on the Monday morning to get her eyes, the visual fields measured. And hopefully we'll get the image for you, but
sure.
You can see on the pre-measurement just a black, that quarter of the sphere,
the lesion
of the circle was just all black, in other words, blindness. You see the post-measurement on the Monday morning after the event, there isn't a black spot.
Unbelievable. Complete
restoration of sight. Now, if you asked me if that was possible, 2 years ago, I would say, yeah, it's possible theoretically. But now, this is the 4-minute mile. Then we have another lady that was blind from birth, 5% vision, and again, she had an amazing experience with our coherence healing. We teach people how to heal. When she opened her eyes, she could see faces for the first time.
Unbelievable.
And in fact, they had these 2 big bouquets on the stage, really big, beautiful flowers. And she had 5% vision, so she could just see a little bit of light. And she thought they were 2 bodyguards on the stage guarding me the whole event. And when she sat up, she could see flowers. Or you see the nurse tell her story, or the lady who's allergic to everything at the same event, who's wearing a mask with the filters and the whole bit, that had anaphylactic shock every day of her life. By the second day, she's on the floor with her mask off, dancing around. That person sits down after they witness that. When they close their eyes and they do their next meditation, their acceptance, their belief, and their ability to surrender and trust that it could happen to them becomes greater. What I want our community to do is say, what is standing in the way between me and my ability to connect to that field? Because I want to eliminate every belief, every emotion, every past, whatever. I want to remove all of those veils. Why am I doing this? Because I want to get so good at this. We have some MIT researchers that are going to organize all the data. 50%. I want to get to 50%, and then we are going to walk into children's hospitals and we're going to say, what kids, just give us your kids. We won't touch them, we don't want any money, all we want to do is help. And I think that's
amazing.
That's a living organism called the human beings, the living organism, the human being. The age of selfish individuality has to end right now. The living organism has to take care of one another. They have to heal one another. They have to teach one another. They have to exchange important information amongst one another. They have to shine for one another, not to be outstanding and competitive, but to show others that they can shine. That's the only way we're going to make our way out of this mess.
Oh my gosh. My favorite things that I've ever had said here, just so you know. Because the application of this is beyond just someone going from 5% vision to 95% vision. The application of this in humanity and consciousness, as you've just described there at the end, is what really I'm hearing and seeing all of that. That's what fascinates me. And I must say to you that, we all agree that certainly our thoughts can make us unhealthy. So if that is true, there's got to be a way that the mind and the heart can be able to heal the body as well. And I'm fascinated by the study of epigenetics, and what you've just covered here it's a whole new level. I love what you said. We've poked a hole. It's the 4-minute mile.
But the reason it's the 4-minute mile is because once the 4-minute mile was broken, 2 weeks later everybody was breaking it because it was a new belief,
it's
a new
belief.
level of consciousness.
Yep.
So the evidence of all these amazing healings, and not only just healings, people are creating new jobs, new opportunities, new relationships, new mystical experiences that transcend language, where you just can't be Ed anymore. You know too much after that. That's the unknown, right? So in order for you to really begin to explore the unknown aspect of yourself, you got to learn how to get beyond the known aspect of yourself. And if you keep coming back to the known, you're going to miss out on the unknown. So you would say, well, I don't know anything in the unknown. Of course, it's the unknown. And if you try to control it there, you're back to the known. If you try to predict it, you're back to the known. So you got to go through this trial and error of just kind of refining your attention, refining your ability. And it's just got to be something like playing tennis or playing golf or doing martial arts or working out or crocheting or dancing the salsa. You just got to keep going, man. In the beginning, it's tedious. And then when you start finding your groove, like our community, they don't miss their morning meditations. You know why? Because the magic is happening, and they know if they miss it, they're gonna cut off from the magic. So they, whether they're tired, whether they're hungover, whether they're in. You know, and if you wake up in the morning and you can't get your butt out of bed, you know what that means? It just means you can predict the feeling of everything that's going to happen in your life. And the body's resigned.
The body's resigned.
So then, you know, when you went on a school trip when you were a kid, you know, you woke up before your parents because you knew something new was going to happen. That's the body going, wake up.
Wake up.
It's something unexpected is going to happen. What happened to us, right?
Christmas Day.
So why not, you know, put in your time and then measure the effects of you would cause. I mean, become a scientist in your life and really start to experiment with it. Okay, let me change my energy. Let me just write down 4 thoughts that, like, it's too hard, I'll start tomorrow, this doesn't feel right, whatever it is. It's this person's fault. Just write those down and say, these thoughts, like Gandalf on the bridge. You may not pass today. This is the end. So then if you become conscious of those thoughts, now you're the governor of your thoughts. What actions, what behaviors do you want to change? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you judge? Do you make excuses? How do you talk? Do you speak limited? Just pick 4 things that you're not going to do any longer. What emotions get you in trouble? What are the emotions
that you're addicted to too, right?
That you're addicted to that keep you returning back to your past. And if you don't know, close your eyes for about 30 minutes and just watch where your mind goes and watch your feelings and just say, okay, it's frustration, it's unworthiness, it's self-doubt, it's guilt, it's frustration, it's shame. Just become conscious of those and just review them in your mind so that you don't go unconscious them in your waking day.